that feeling, like the Wigan crowd, the whole KR crowd, like just they're such vocal crowds, and just the like I think it was 68,000 or something in Old Trafford. Like it was just that's such a feeling.
That's got to be such an experience. Like imagine running out to that, man. It's got to be insane.
Yeah, it was like.
Adam Keighran, how are you, brother?
I'm good, mate. I'm very happy to be here.
Mate,
welcome. The nice, sunny, palmy.
Bro, welcome to the GC. How good, man?
Man, this is a different lifestyle up here, isn't it?
Wait, we had a beautiful little coffee and swim and run this morning. How you feeling? How are the legs?
Mate, the calves aren't well, but no, it was good. It's a good environment, isn't it?
Yeah.
Good little crew you got up here, and no, it was cool to get an early start and win the day.
But that's what I was saying. That's what we were saying this morning. Like even rolling in, you don't get days like this where you like sun's up at 4:30. You can roll down to the little beach, have a little run, have a little swim. Good community, good crew. Like, bro, that's the best ever.
Mate, I wasn't expecting it because I got here Sunday and then didn't close the blackout blinds for the Monday morning and woke up at 4:30 and I was like, it must be about 7.
Yeah.
Looked at the time, 4:30. I went, I may as well stay up. This is the win of the day,
mate. You wouldn't be used to that being over in the UK. Like, what time's the sun coming up? Maybe like 8 a.m., 7 a.m?
During the winter, like 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Really?
Yeah. But no, it's good, mate. You get up, you have your coffee. I mean, when the little ones get up with you, it's a bit of a long day, but no, it's good. It's always good.
Mate, how is off season? You've had a couple of weeks off, beautiful little trip in Bali. How's it been?
It's been good. I've been here for a while actually. I got home on the 16th of October, so it's been about a month and a half already.
Yeah.
But it's been good. We surprised the family actually coming home. They weren't expecting us back until after Bali. We were expecting to meet them in there, but you don't get many surprises in life. So we kept that pretty quiet and got home and surprised the grandparents with the little ones, and they were stoked. And then we took off to Bali on the 2nd of November and spent 10 days there. There's a good crew of us, good friends and family, and it was good. It wasn't your typical crazy Bali scene. It was getting the family together, and obviously a fair bit of drinks were drunk, but in a sensible fashion. You got to take care of the little ones when they're around.
You can do Bali in 2 ways, yeah. Like you can either rip, which I'm sure we probably have in the past, or you can do it like super wholesome. Like we did Uluwatu maybe like a month ago, and like that was big because it was a wedding. But mate, if beautiful restaurant scene, good surf, like if you wanted to train, we were training every day. Like that works for me, bro.
Yeah,
that works.
Well, we stayed in Jimbaran for the first 4 nights, which there's not a whole lot going on there. It was we had the resort we're staying at, and then there's a couple of nice little cliff top beach clubs and stuff. So we went there and enjoyed some drinks and that, but it was quiet. It's not peak time for tourists and things like that. So we had a lot of it to ourselves, and it was good for the kids. They swam, we swam, and good food, good people, good company. So you can't complain with that.
Yeah, that works. And then even like coming into now, like so it's off season now. Coach was saying that you've got like an extra couple of weeks off. How does training look like for you in this off season? Is it a matter of just like stepping away and like, mate, body needs a break, or will you still keep like ticking along?
Well, they emphasise to actually take quite a bit of time off and let the body relax. It's a long season, especially for us. We played every single game you can play over there, so they emphasise to basically have it off till December. But I think most boys obviously start a little bit earlier than that to get the body in shape. But I speak to him on probably a weekly or fortnightly occasion. I'll just check in how we're going. But he said just once December pops around, then start ripping in. But I've started a little bit. Obviously, a little run this morning.
Yeah, a little trot, man.
Yeah, obviously shows I need a bit more running.
But you're good, bro. You're flying. You're doing good.
No, it was good. But obviously now start ramping it up a bit, get back on the field, and get the feel of the boots on the feet again, and. Yeah, start ripping back in before after Christmas when we got to head back before the new year. But it's a good break. They're really good like that for the Aussie boys over there. They trust us, and we got to repay them with that and come back fit. And most boys do that. So it's a good off season.
I think that's such a cool piece, man, because like it's cool that they have the trust in you to just go home, do what you got to do, like catch up with the family, do that. But they know you're going to come back fit, which is probably why they let you have so much freedom when you go back home, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what that's what I love about the club so much. Like they're such a family club. They're always checking in and making sure that the families are all right. Obviously, not just us. And I think that's why it's so important or that's why we're probably so successful. To be honest, if you're happy off the field, you play a lot better on the field. And that's why, as I say, I've got so much respect for the club for doing that.
Talk to me about the year. Pretty successful year. Like obviously won the comp, mate. Run me through that. Talk me through the year.
Yeah. So obviously the first biggest one was the World Club Challenge, and obviously successful. A couple of maybe a controversial call there that's it's surfaced the internet a bit, but no, we got that one, and that was the start of a successful year, as you say. It's a long year over there. Like you get
how many rounds are you guys playing over there?
I think it's 27 round games, and then you got the Challenge Cup in between that. So I think there's 4 rounds of that. And then obviously finals as well. So I think you end up playing 32, 33 games.
That's a lot of footy, man. That's a lot of footy.
Especially those like that, you're injury free or you're doing anything like that. Like you're playing every single game. Like, I mean, I got suspended for 3 games, but it was that gave me a little break.
Yeah. Not on purpose, man.
Of course. I missed the Challenge Cup final. That was pretty devastating. But no, it is a long season. But when you're getting the rewards and you're winning the trophies and the silverware that you want to get, it makes it a lot more worth it. And I mean, winning all 4 that we got was such a good feeling, and just the club deserved it. Like how hard we trained, and how close the boys are in terms of culture, and what the staff invest into the players, and the players obviously giving it back. We got what we deserved, I reckon.
Mate, tell me about the club, because it's obviously Wigan's a successful club. Like you've walked into a really successful club. Like what is it about it that makes it such a great culture, a great crew? Like what is it about it?
Well, if I'm comparing to, like say Catalan, for example, we train longer days. That's without a doubt. But the days we get there at 8 o'clock. We all have breakfast together. We have the meetings. We do the work. Then we have, we'll have a snack or whatever, and then it depends how long the day is, obviously. And then we all have lunch together at the end of the day. So the boys are always together. It's like, it's like you're on a camp almost, but obviously not a bad one where you're getting flogged or anything. Yeah. But you're always together. All the boys are tight. There's no, I don't know if I'm swearing on here, but there's no idiots or dickheads. You know what I mean?
You can say what you
want. Yeah.
So
there's not one of them like from the top. The captain, Farrell, like he's one of the boys. There's no, I'm better than you or anything like that. Like it's a level playing field from rookies to top. Like every club obviously wants that, but we've got that, and it's such a good balance.
Is that driven from the leaders, do you think?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got like Willie Isa, for example. He's a big leader there, but they all push that. Like they're always talking to the younger boys, always making sure. Is there anything they can do to help? Or they're always tipping them up, you know what I mean? So it's given the younger boys a voice that obviously all clubs want. You want the younger boys to speak up, and we've got that. And as I say, that's why we're so successful, I reckon.
I think that's so cool, because I was talking to a guy, Hayden Knowles. I don't know if you know Knowlesy. He obviously did a bunch in the State of Origin side, was with Penrith for a number of years, and he talks about the culture at like Penrith, and obviously like naturally Penrith is such a successful side, but same thing. Everyone has a voice, and the ability to create a culture where the young guys can speak up, especially like the Polynesian guys who are probably typically a little bit more quiet, where they feel comfortable to be themselves, like because they have great energy, man. Like they're so fun. Yeah. So it's sick to hear that from you, because it just seems like you've got 2 successful teams, both like creating a culture where like everyone can speak up, everyone can be themselves.
Yeah, 100%. And I think one of the big things about Wigan, obviously, it's one of the oldest clubs in the comp. Or I think it is the oldest in the whole league. And they dive into the history about like past players, everything like that, and they always bring past players in to speak, and just about like the culture that is meant to be Wigan, like that Wigan culture. And I think they, like the coaches especially, are driving that. Like they've got past players working for them. You've got Rads as the CEO, like. And they emphasise like this is what the culture has to be, and they've driven it, and then we've got that. So it's just such a good club to be a part of.
Mate, that's so cool. Who are the boys you're knocking around with over there?
There's a good Aussie crew, but they're in Manchester. I'm in Wigan, but Harry Smith is one of my closest one. He's just had a little boy as well. So it's good because now we've got the families together, and we do a game night dinner every week. Like I don't think we missed one this year.
Really?
Like no matter what
Boys
happened.
come around to have a little game night.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so
like
sick.
it's just there's a pastor every night before game, so you alternate it and that, and just it's just a good vibe. You get your he comes over. Like obviously his missus and the little one as well come over and just, or not yet, but the little one will be this year. Be pretty chaotic, two and his one. It's just such a good vibe, eh? Like get together, you're speaking to someone, like you're hanging out, you're not too worried about the game. It's just such a casual vibe, and it sort of sets you up for the game because you're not overthinking. Like some people can overthink. Me in particular, I can overthink things, but it's just. He's such a good person to be around. He's just casual as too. But in terms of the other boys, like you got Jay, Bev, and Cato and Abbas and that, they're all living in Manchester together. Like that's a little tight crew there. And but then like all the other boys are sort of spread out. A few of the boys travel about an hour and a half to training and stuff, but the younger boys and stuff. Yeah. But it's just a good crew. Everyone gets there, but you're not in little groups. Do you know what I mean? Everyone talks to everyone, and it's just. Cool. That's
so sick because I thought crew over in the UK like they would live like 5 minutes from training, like because
you think that, wouldn't you?
But we came over with the RLPA like earlier this year, and we did 3 like big group meetings. We did Manchester, Hull, and Leeds, and it was funny like talking to the other boys. They said the English lads. They all live like super close to where they train because it's just like where they're from, and naturally they'll have like that alignment to the club.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you do have the Wigan born and bred. Like you got your Marshy and your Faz and that, who they're obviously in Wigan, but the rest of them are around. Obviously, the Aussie boys are trying to get the city scene. And
in Manchester. What is it called? The Albert Slosh.
Yeah.
We had a couple, mate, when we rolled into for the UK tour, when we like went and presented to a lot of the past players, the past NRL players over there. We got into Manchester and we were obviously like jet lagged, and we were like, we'll go out and we'll just like try and beat the jet lag. But then we went past midnight, we went too far over. We're like, this just made us worse. And I wasn't drinking at the time, so I'm like out sober having like a Red Bull trying to stay awake. It was just a weird and rogue time. Yeah. But mate, talk to me about the grand final and how that came about. Because obviously, like, have you won a comp before?
I haven't. No, mate, I lost last year against him.
Of course, mate. Run me through that experience.
Yeah. So. Like, obviously, I was on the bad end of the stick last year, and it was obviously a tough pill to swallow. I mean, last year it was like I got kind of like the emotions were suppressed because I was expecting the birth of my daughter on the 15th on the day of the grand final. So my wife is back here in Australia. I'm over there about to prepare for a grand final.
No way.
So like obviously the mind's on that, and then as soon as that game was over, the earliest flight the next morning, I was on the flight, and then when I ended up making it for her, but that was pretty hectic.
Where did your head go when you think you're gonna have a baby, and you obviously want to be there for your partner, but then you've got to get ready for a grand final? Like how do you navigate that headspace?
Well, it was we had the semi-final against Saints, and there's obviously we want to win, like no matter what, and then. We won, and then I was expecting my wife to be a bit like, you're not going to be here or anything. But she was absolutely over the moon that we've made this grand final. She knows that this is what I've been wanting to do, like for my whole life and whatnot. So she was so over the moon. Obviously, we were a bit nervous. Oh, am I going to make it? Whatever. But I had to put that to the side for the game, and unfortunately, we didn't get the result. But it's probably not about probably a fortnight after that the emotions really set in about what I've just lost like last year. But obviously getting here for the birth of my daughter and experiencing that is the best feeling in the world. But then obviously this year a little bit more successful. It was like when I talk about Wigan, like this, they're just so gritty towards the end. They'll play for 80 minutes no matter what, like every week. And I think that was probably epitomised in the grand final. Like you've got, I think for the last 4 games of the season, we didn't have a try conceded. Like
that's pretty incredible, man.
Yeah, we rely on the defence, and I think we obviously turn it up a notch in the back end of the season when you need it. And even in the grand final against, a team like Hull who were such a good team all year. I think they won the for and against the year, putting points on teams, left, right and centre, and the quality that they have to be able to keep them to, no try. Obviously they got the goal, but it was, to not have them score a try, it was pretty cool. And, but that feeling, like the Wigan crowd, the whole KR crowd, they're such vocal crowds, and just the I think it was 68,000 or something in Old Trafford. It was just, that's such a feeling.
That's got to be such an experience. Like, imagine running out to that, man. It's got to be insane.
Yeah. It was so random though. It started hailing in the middle of the grand final, for a few minutes and stuff. But they're so loud the whole time. You kind of obviously you realise how loud it is on the field, but in a moment you don't really take in the crowd until there's a break in play, or there's obviously you're warming up. The warming up is obviously when they get real vocal and you can actually take notice of it. And then obviously when the final hooter goes and they're all up there, screaming and stuff, it was such a good feeling. And obviously, just being around the boys and, I'm never really a big celebrator, to be honest. Even if, I score a try, I don't think I'm much of a celebrator anyway, but the emotions that come through with 2 minutes to go and you've got it, I can't even explain it. It's just a different kind of thing. I was celebrating probably carrying on a little bit, but just the emotions that took over, it was so cool.
What about when you walk back into the sheds?
It was
because you that feeling when you're sitting, all the crew are sitting around in a little semicircle and you're talking. There's an esky in the middle, and it's just I can only compare it to games. I've never won a comp, but after a game, that's such an incredible feeling. But I imagine that's probably amplified to a whole nother space when you win a GF.
Yeah, and that's just the start of the celebrations too. You just
how was the celebration?
They were good. I knew that I had the flight coming on the Tuesday, and obviously having 2 kids, it was going to be a long 24 hours or whatever it is to get home. So that Saturday night, all the way through, just going into Sunday, and then Sunday it got to a point where I was couldn't even keep my eyes open. I was all right, this is where I'm going to probably put hit the nail on the head. So went home sort of Sunday afternoon, and then Monday we had end of season little reviews so everyone can sort of get out, or little meeting and stuff, a little bit of lunch together and whatnot. So I felt like I was in pretty good form, for the Monday. I felt good, and then Tuesday morning come around, I felt good for the flight. I was like, I've made the right decision here, right?
Mate, look at you, a bit of maturity coming through with a bit of old age. Talking to Adam fucking a couple of years ago, that might be a different story, man.
Oh yeah. I was if I didn't have the flight, that's probably what held me back a little bit. Gotcha. But it was I was happy with the decision. I felt good.
Mate, obviously traveling overseas with a family, new environment, you've obviously had so much success over there, but I imagine it's probably not all sunshine and rainbows. Is there any challenges or struggles that you went through when you first went over there, or even going through it? I'm thinking for yourself personally, or even with family members at all?
Yeah, so we went over there on, I think it would have been about the 30th of December. So we go right into the cold weather, the darkness. We weren't expecting it to be so dark, so early and so late. So we get there. We had a camp in Portugal, a 10-day camp in Portugal on the 7th.
It's a tough spot to have a camp. Portugal sounds unreal, but I imagine maybe wasn't.
No, the actual camp itself was fine. It was the fact that we got there, we're waiting on furniture to get delivered from Australia. It was delayed. It was meant to get there 15th of December or something. It ended up getting there, I think it was the 13th of January. So we were in a house with nothing. Yeah. Well, my wife's, we got the 2 kids. We've got, basically nothing. We know no one. And so I've taken off on this 10-day camp. So my wife's left with 2 kids. I'm already feeling guilty as it is. But we got, I think it was 7 days in, and my coach come up to me and said, we've spoke to the leaders and we've done the hard work now. That the hard work's done. We're just, the 3 days is, we'll get some work done, but we've done the hard yards. We've done the big things that we need to do. The option's there if you want to go home to help help your wife and kids because we said the delivery was coming that day, which it was. Like we got the notifications and whatnot. So I rang her and said, "Do you want me to come back or do you want me just to stick the 3 days out?" And she said, "Well, like if you can come, but I don't want to, other people looking at you going, 'Oh, you're getting this treatment.'"
Yeah.
So I said, "Like, are you sure? Like that's fine because obviously I'd like to get there. I don't want her to be stressed out with 2 kids trying to put furniture in a house." Like, and they're like, we wouldn't tell you that if we didn't want you to go. So I ended up going after the 7th day just to help out, and then I got back. It started snowing. The only day it started snowing was when I get back, and then they ring and say, "Oh, we can't actually deliver the furniture."
Far out, man.
I was like, so I've just come back for nothing. Like still training, obviously, when I'm back, but so I go to train and then they message and go, like I was getting missed calls from her, and it was, "Oh, they've actually come and delivered it." And I'm like, "Oh, I've been training. I didn't have my phone." Like,
Yeah.
So I come back. We have to get it all going. But like, point is, like, how good Wigan is for me with the family. Like about, if she needs help or any family, if they're not good, then we'll do whatever we can to help out.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've done that, and then then we met some neighbours and their families and stuff. And there's a family there that he used to play for Wigan, Ian Thornley. Like him and his family's got 2 kids, and we've become real close with them. We've got another couple, Emma and Nick, who are like our grandparents over there. Like the whole street is such a good thing. We've got, I think we added up about 20 kids or something on the street.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
that is a cool environment. Yeah.
It's like a dead end street. There was gates on the thing, so you could sort of close it up. Kids just go out there and play. So now that we've met them, it's been such more like a more enjoyable year.
Yeah.
Now that we met them after that, but it was obviously a little bit of a challenge at the start, and then obviously throughout the year you miss out on little milestones that a lot of people don't think about. So like my wife's sister, they had another little girl, and we didn't meet them till we come back after the season was done. So just little things like that you miss out on. You'd probably like people obviously think about, but you don't sort of take, they don't think of how much of an impact it can have. And for me personally, like I knew that Tay was missing home a lot, like missing family, and for me, like obviously I was missing family and stuff as well, but it's kind of being there for her and and trying to make it as enjoyable as possible. Whenever we got a break, we try and get away, but I mean we didn't get much of a break this year because we're playing every game and whatnot. But I was pretty fortunate enough too, because even at Catalan and this year, I've had family come over and see us, whether it be, an auntie and uncle, or, I had my mum last year. My dad surprised me both grand finals, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so like it sort of splits up the year because they come in June or July when it's summertime. And so it makes it a little bit easier in that sense. But, for her, it was, I was just making sure she was as comfortable as possible. But, we started enjoying it once the weather warmed up and we've made friends and we can start going out. And that's where I say like Harry was such a big part, because he was straight away like come around for a beer at the start, or come around for dinners. And then we made that, pre-game meal a thing, and all those kind of things help. And as I say, the club was always asking, always checking in. So
that's so good. And like you alluded it to before, where you're like when you're happy off the field, like you're way more likely to play good footy on the field, right? And having a partner and family who are also happy, like that would contribute to you 100%, right?
100%, yes. And I'll keep referring back to the club, but it's just that's why they're such a good club. They made sure that she's good, the kids are good, and as you say, it shows on the field that how we've gone this year. Everyone, all families, obviously, if they're happy, then all the boys play well, and I think we've done that.
With going forward, because obviously you're still so young, like you're 27, like you could play for however many more years. What's the plan? Do you want to play in the Super League a little bit longer? Like if the opportunity was to come up in the NRL, would you come back to the NRL? Like what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm pretty open. I've got another year with Wigan, and I'm sure we're going to be successful again. And we've got quite the same team. I think we've lost 2 players. I'm not sure if there's any other signings at the moment, but you know, we've got such a good thing, and hopefully this year it's as successful as it was next year it's as successful as this year. But you know, obviously being back home would be such an ideal thing, and but for me, as in Wigan, it's such a successful club and such a good environment, so I can't complain being there. Like I'm happy there, but as I say, I'm open to seeing what's available, and but yeah, if the opportunity comes back here, maybe then. But if not, I'm happy at Wigan. It's such a good environment.
On similar themes, talking about clubs and your partner Tay, I've got a little question for you.
Yeah.
That I'll play.
Do you feel pressure from extended family to get a contract close to home or give up your career to be closer to family?
You repeat that?
Yeah, we can go again.
I was expecting that.
Do you feel pressure from extended family to get a contract close to home or give up your career to be closer to family?
Beautiful question from Tay.
It is a very beautiful question.
Right.
Do I feel pressure? I wouldn't say I feel pressure. Like, obviously you get the comments and whatnot, and you know, you take it on board, but I know that my career's not a long career. Like all rugby league players say that, you know, it's not a long career. It's a 10, 15-year career. And I mean, I'm experiencing things over there that a lot of people don't get to experience. But in terms of pressure, I don't feel pressured. You know, I don't know, it's a tough one because, you know, like I feel like Tay and the kids would be like happier here because they've, you know, she's got a sister who she's really close with, her mum she's really close with, the whole family. So, you know, in terms of that, there's, you know, I don't know if it's not a feeling of guilt per se, but it's more like, you know, I know you'd be happy, but I know that we're doing so much stuff over there that we're not going to get to, you know, experience if we were living here. Like it's expensive and it's far to go over there if you want to do those things. So we're pretty privileged to be able to do that. But in terms of, I wouldn't say I feel pressured. Yeah, I'll stick with that
because I get it. Like even like having conversations with other players over there, it's like if you zoom out and look at it, it is such a short career, right? Like the average games in the NRL is like 46, right? And then probably like it's a little bit longer in the Super League, but even just an NRL career in general, if you play 10 plus years, that is an awesome career. But when you zoom out, that could be like a tenth of your life.
Exactly.
Which is nothing, right? So when you zoom out and you think, well, I've got the opportunity to live in another country, like that is a beautiful thing. So I always, when I talk to players, it's like, well, I mean, you've got such a short time. If you go over and enjoy it, like you'll learn so much more as well. And and I don't think you'll look back on a couple year career and think like, oh man, I wish I didn't go play in 2 grand finals, and I wish I didn't meet Harry and have all these like little experiences. That seems like a positive way and a positive outlook as well.
Yeah. Like when we've touched on that, it's we were speaking about it yesterday actually, me, Miani and Tay, about our little one Koa. He asked the other day, he goes, "Where is our home?" And I was like, that sort of like, me and her were speaking about it. So like that sort of hits home because we're going from place to place, whatever. But I feel like it's building such resilience for him. Like he's only 3, but he acts like a 10-year-old. But he's you know, for him to experience the stuff that he's experienced even at such a young age, I feel like that's going to build that resilience and whatnot for the future of him. But you know, I say that I don't feel like guilty from that question, but a couple like we were speaking about, like maybe that feels a little bit guilty, like if he's even questioning, oh, where, like, you know, where's my actually like my home and stuff like that. But I think that's probably one of the reasons, like bigger reasons, is to say if there was something to come up over here or back here in Australia, that'd be the reason, so I can kind of get settled and go, you know, this is home. But as you say, for now I'm pretty fortunate to have the life I've got at the moment, where we're doing these things and we're seeing the different part of the world. And you know, actually a funny thing, I think we had these little player cards that it said, put a random fact on for, you know, for you. And I was trying to think of a random one, and it come up, and Tay was like, why don't you put you've lived in 4 different countries in 5 years. And I was like, just had to think about it. So I went New Zealand, I've lived in Australia, then I went to France, then I went to England. And I was like, that's actually pretty cool for 4 countries in 5 years. Like, it's obviously, you know, I get to see different parts of the world and whatnot. So it's as I say, it's a pretty, you know, privileged position that I'm in. And but I think, you know, you got to start thinking about, you know, long term. But for now, while the career's short and whatnot, I'm enjoying where I'm at the moment. So we'll see what happens.
I think that's a really cool piece, mate. And you touched on resilience and how it's building resilience in your kids. Do you think about like A, what type of dad you want to be, and then also B, like what kind of values you want to instill in your kids, and how do you do that?
Yeah, I've always wanted to be that dad that's there to do, like, I'm so hands-on. I'm doing whatever. I'm like a kid myself still. I feel like that.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to Movie World today, and I'm so stoked.
You were excited. You were excited about Movie World. I know you were.
So, like, these little things where, like, I'm trying to give them as much fun as possible while I can, like, I know when you retire, you know, the money drops and you can't do these things that you get to do. And, you know, for while I can do it, I just want to give them that life that, you know, these core memories that you think back and you know, I can show photos and whatnot. And I understand my daughter's obviously a little bit younger. She's only 1, so she won't remember all these things. But like Cole's at that age where he remembers things like, you know, he remembers France. He remembers things doing in France. Like, so to be able to make these little memories and stuff, I think it's that's the kind of, you know, dad I want to be, to make their like their childhood and make everything such a fun thing like mine was. Like I remember things back in my day of like, this is such a cool moment. And, you know, I'm 27 now and I'm still remembering back when I was, you know, 4 or 5 doing these things. And in terms of values, like, I just want him to be just a good person, be himself. Like, you know, he has such this personality. Like, everyone that meets him goes, he's just a cool kid. Eh? Like, and I like,
it's a bit like his dad, a bit like his old man.
You know, like, he's just got this like personality of just, like, I'm telling you, he's like a 7 to 10 year old as a 3-year-old. Like, his vocabulary is so good. He's like, mannerisms are like funny as his personality. He's just this little dude, and I'm like, this is like, just be you know. I've got to keep teaching him the manners because he seems to just take and take.
He's cheeky.
So I'm saying after everything, well, what do you say? Like, you know, just making sure he's got the manners and things that, you know, my parents instilled in me and my brother. So, probably.
Do you think that's a thing? Like, when you've seen it from your parents, that's the way you kind of want to reflect it onto your kids as well?
Yeah, 100%. You know, I've spoke to like my mum sort of recently, and she would say, like, even when we're like eating dinner or something out at a restaurant, you want him, like, we had you sitting down, like, you're not running around a restaurant and stuff. Like, it's quite hard with Cole. He's 100 miles an hour, like, constantly. But just little things like that where you build these mannerisms as a young kid, and then you can, you know, make sure that they continue doing that until an age where they just do it regularly and do it naturally, and just little things like that I'm trying to instill in them.
But I love that. I do want to rewind to growing up in the household. Were you always a talented kid? Because obviously, like, you've gone on and played professional rugby league in multiple countries. Now, were you always that talented kid, or were you the kid that had to grind and work hard?
No, I was probably the talented one, to be honest. My brother was the opposite. He was just the workhorse, so he went well. But I was probably the one that I was probably always a little bit bigger than everyone as a kid. You know, I had the speed, and I was always being able to, like, I could kick really well. Like, it was probably more because we had such a competition, me and my brother. Like, he's 2 years older than me, but we'd always, you know, compete in everything. So it's probably excelled me in that sense. But yeah, I felt like I was always, probably one of the better ones. Like, I don't want to sound cocky or anything, but, you know.
But naturally, like, you know, man, like 100%. Why? Because I think, mate, to be honest, I think I was similar in the sense that I was bigger than everyone else. so naturally you probably like can get away with a lot more growing up.
Yeah.
And then you hit that age where you might be like 17, 18, everyone catches up to you and you're like, oh shit, I've actually got to work hard now because everyone's caught up to it. That was just my experience.
Yeah. Well, when was it? I would have got back from France, and I had my first coach. Like I was at Wigan, and my first coach, he kept my jersey. He goes, I just know that this kid's going to go somewhere.
Gotcha.
And he messaged my mum just before I got back from France and said, listen, I've still got Adam's jersey, his first ever jersey, because I knew that he was going to go somewhere. I want to come and give it back to him.
How old were you?
6.
What?
Yeah.
That's so wild.
Yeah, so like he picked it from there, like the coach. So he said, I just know he's going to go somewhere, so I want to get his jersey. And that he's had it for all these years. He's had it for 20 plus years, and he's come and delivered it to me house. And like, you know, I had so much respect for him. Like, yeah, I've still got so much respect for him, like as a person, and obviously as a coach. When I was 6, to be able to go and do that and get those jerseys, and but yeah, it's like this the thick cotton, the long sleeve little thing. But it's such a cool thing, like for him to pick it out at that age, like. But yeah, like even coming through like under 12s and stuff, I was always in like a New South Wales team or you know, the rep teams that were there. And then I signed with the Bulldogs at 15, I think it was, for Harold Matts and stuff. But I played for Central Coast for a couple of years before that, so I was always in that rep environment. So yeah.
Was there any times throughout like that later teens when it got tricky, or like you might have had a couple of setbacks?
Yeah, so I went from SG ball straight to an NRL preseason, like straight into the...
Straight out of high school.
Basically. Yeah. So, you know, like I know like my fitness levels and all that weren't the standard of what was expected at a NRL side, and you know, our 20 side was pretty ordinary at the time. We weren't even pushing finals. Like it was just a bit of a slump. Like it wasn't too enjoyable, to be honest. But then, you know, I got a bit of an absolute roasting actually from I think it was Desi at the time actually.
Gotcha.
He called me in as an 18-year-old, 19-year-old, and he said, "Mate, like you're expected to go back to 20s level after training with us, and you know, be this leader and stuff. But you're not doing that. Like you'd use some absurd language, won't you?"
Yeah, sure.
Say it on here, but
you can imagine what Desi would say. Yeah, I can
but
imagine.
It was a bit of a shock at that age, and you know, when we weren't winning, it was a bit of a grind, and you know, I'm having the long days, or like, you know, you do double sessions of NRL, and then you have to do the 20s training, and I felt like, you know, I wasn't enjoying footy at all, really. And you know, I think after that spray, I probably spat the dummy a little bit, but it was more of I just didn't enjoy the football at the time, and like I was ringing my parents saying like I don't know if I want to do, like I actually don't want to do this. Like, you know, I said I'm coming home, like because I was living at the Bulldogs house at the time, and I was really close with the family there, Viv and Sauce, and they were obviously my second parents. I was living with them for 3 years, and you know, I was in tears with them. I was like, I don't want to do this. Like I'm going home. I got to get in the car and drove home to the Central Coast. And I was like, it's not enjoyable for me. And you know, that was the last year of my contract, and you know, I was umming and ahhing for quite a while, and then an opportunity come up at Penrith to go and play, and I thought, you know, I'll go over there, see what it is. It was just a development contract there, and you know, see how I go. And sort of the moment I got there, it was like a switch. It was like, this is an environment that I enjoy, and I felt like the love of football come back. My actual footy increased. Like it was just, you know, I was enjoying it, and my footy was like way better on field, happier off field, and just sort of that's where the career excelled, to be honest.
And do you think it's a change in environment?
Yeah, for me, definitely. You know, as you say, even now, like you just touched on about Penrith, about how it is. You know, you train in the facility, you got the people around you, got the coaches around you, just tipping you up, and you know, the boys and the camaraderie there was just such a vibe to be around, and you know, we were quite successful that year. I think we got out in the major semi, but it was just such an enjoyable year. I signed 2 years there, but the opportunity come up after that year because of the sort of the quality of football that was being played, to go over to New Zealand. That was that was probably the first NRL contract that I got offered. They're like, we got a spot here. We want you in the halves. Like I was sort of alternating between centre and half at Penrith, but they said we got an opportunity to come over and play half or six, and you know, this is probably where you can excel, because obviously behind, you know, Nathan, yeah, Jerome there playing there. So
players there,
I think Jimmy Maloney was there at the time playing the six. So obviously, you know, Romeo was the next one up, and you know, I sort of had to buy me time, but. And I sat down and I spoke to Gus, and he said, mate, if you've got an opportunity where you can excel your career, we're not going to hold you back. Like, we want you to go and pursue that, and that's where you can get your start a bit quicker than probably what you're going to get here. And that's where I went over there and, you know, made my debut round one there, and that was such a good time there. You know, we had Carl there. Well, that's
one of the great men, Carl Lawton.
Yeah,
one of the great men. Yeah,
exactly. Him, Jackson Fry. And then Joshy Curran come a bit later that year. That was our little crew there, and that was such a good time. New Zealand is such a beautiful country, beautiful people.
Were all you boys living together? Were you in the same house?
Yeah.
Yeah, you were in that same house?
Yeah.
What a hell of a house, man.
Man, it was so cool. It was such a bloody, me and my wife went there first, moved into just a little place, and then that's when we met Carl, and then Jacko was there. We're like, you know what, let's just get a bigger house, and just go there. No kids at the time, obviously.
No, naturally, yeah.
And then moved in, and that was like we all got the same moped, like just getting around on that. It was just such a good place and a good time. And then obviously COVID hit around that time, like the following year, and I mean, I can't complain. We were in Terrigal, and you know, basically I'm back at home. And it was just such a good time at New Zealand. Like I speak so highly of it every time everyone asks about how was it and stuff, and I say, if you ever get the opportunity to do that, go and do that.
I want to stay on the themes before we move on. I want to stay on the themes of like falling like back in love with the sport, because I know for sure, for me personally, and conversations that I have with a lot of crew, it's just like, especially when you do something for a job, like of course, like naturally, like you can fall out of love with something. Like I look at guys who play in the NRL for like 10, 15 years. Even like a couple years, bro. Like even when I was at Bronx, like I naturally had those feelings of like, is this something I really want to do? I'm unsure. Like it's cool, like the idea of like training full time with the boys, something you always wanted to do. But naturally, you fall out of love with this something. But what you said was just like, no, like what I did, because I think like people who are listening to this is just like, well, I might be like not enjoying my job, or I might not be enjoying like the training I'm doing or the professional sport, or whatever your thing is. But like knowing that you can actually like change your environment, and an environment that fits you. And you talk about the environment at Penrith, the environment at like New Zealand, like that seems like such a positive change and such a positive like way to reframe that. Yeah.
I think for me, I'm one of those ones that I can get quite bored, like doing the same thing over and over and over. And as you say, I think that change of environment, or even like the change of people you're around, like or just something like that can just trigger something, and you just go, you know what, this is what I was after. Or, you know, I just feel, obviously, I think that's a big thing that I am a big believer on, is the people that you're around drive, you know, how you're feeling or where you're going to go in life. So if you have a good network or a good group around you, whether it be small or a big group, doesn't matter. If you have the same sort of goal or end goal or something to strive for, I feel like you're just so much more happy to do that. Like you're motivated. You're a lot more motivated to go and do that.
I subscribe to that 100%. I remember when I was at Bronx, don't get me wrong, I had like an under 20s, right? We had like the most incredible crew. Like same, I think it was similar to you, like play under 20s, but train with first grade. And so we had like the amazing bunch of lads. Like I look back at our side, it was like, Keenan Palacia, Paddy Carrigan, Herbie Farnworth, like Jesse Art. Like, it was just like, we had an incredible group of lads. But I just was like, I keep getting injured, right? And then, when you're in rehab, you're not really with the boys, you're kind of out of it a little bit. And so for like my last probably 2 or 3 years when I was like 18, 19, like naturally you want to play first grade. But I was just like, I wasn't really with the boys. I was kind of outside, like doing rehab because I had a heap of hammy tears. And same thing, wasn't enjoying it. Called my dad, my manager, like tears one time, being like, I'm done, I'm off it, I'm over it. And then got an opportunity to come back to like the Gold Coast, which is my hometown. I had a heap of mates who were like in the side. That's where I met Carl Lawton. Even a heap of the boys who went to PBC, which is my old school, but they were a little bit older, like Kane LG, Ryan James, Kevin Proctor, who we spoke about this morning. Like, and it was just an awesome crew. And I made the switch mid-season to go back to the Titans. Got my hammy right, got back to playing, ended up making my NRL debut, and it just flipped everything for me. It was like I was back surfing with like all my mates. Like there was like Mitchy Rain and Anthony Don, Michael Gordon. Like we would have like this little surfing crew. We would go out surfing, and I was just having fun. And it was like what you touched on, where you're like, it doesn't have to be the biggest group of lads, but if it's someone that sort of like aligns with your values and aligns with what you get on with, it just changed everything for me. And that's when I like fell back in love with it. I was like, man, this is awesome. Like back on the Goldie, like I go, I'm training, I'm surfing. Like, and to be honest, we weren't a successful club. Like we weren't winning that minute. When we won a game, we celebrated so much because it was like obviously naturally awesome. But it was just like the crew. The crew was it was so influential in like how you feel.
Yeah,
Sure.
I think as obviously you're touching on surfing there. I think what you do away from footy is such a big impact as well. Like obviously you go in, you're doing your work at training, you're around the boys, and it's so cool. But if you go off the field and you actually go and do something that you enjoy, like for me it's golf. I'm an absolute golf fiend. I'll go and play it whenever I can. So if you can go and do that while you're away from footy as much as you can, I feel like that's just such a mental, it's just mentally it just brings you up so much more because you go, all right, I've done the work, I've been in there, I've enjoyed that, but then I've just went and done a different pastime that you just enjoy a lot more. Like, or no, I wouldn't say a lot more, but you just enjoy away from footy. So you get your mind off that and, obviously for you it's surfing or whatever, but I just feel like the off-field stuff is such a big thing as well.
Yeah. I think that, mate, that's the biggest thing. Like even having conversations with, like we do a lot of stuff with Movember as well, like, and a common thing, I even like common themes throughout this podcast. Like we've touched on it before, like when you're happy off the field or happy off like whatever your sporting thing is or even work, like you're way more likely to kill it on the field. And so it's like, find your thing. And a common like pushback is like, well, I don't know what my thing is. Like what's my, like you've got golf, like you've got surfing, like what, I don't know what my thing is. I was like, just try things.
Yeah.
Like, mate, like, and you're not going to know unless you try. Like it might be golf, it might be like pottery or like photography or like whatever it is, but like unless you don't try things, you're not going to know.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like the power of elimination almost.
Yeah, I agree completely.
Bro, first of all, grateful. Thanks so much for coming on. I think this has been an amazing conversation. Before we do wrap things up, what's the biggest thing that you'd like to talk about that we didn't touch on today?
That we didn't touch on.
Is there a certain message or a certain theme that you think would be like impactful on your life, or you think would be great for other people to hear?
I wouldn't say that we haven't touched on it. I'd just really push the group that you get around. Like it's such a different impact on your life if you get around someone that like that group. Like you get a good network, a good group of mates that want to be successful or want to, go further in life or do something. I can just get around that, because if you got people that are, same spot, no goals or anything like that, if you get into that little rut or whatever it is, I don't think you're not going to get too much further in life, or you're not going to, get what your potential. You won't find your potential of what you can actually do. So I think find those really good group of mates or whatever it is, and then your favourite little pastime, and I think you'll be a lot happier in life.
I think that's a beautiful piece. But for everything, like career, success, financial, but also for like happiness, like being around like fun, happy people, like that's the dream.
Yeah.
Like that's where I want to see it. Like my whole thing now is like meaningful work and meaningful relationships. Like if I can knock around with good crew, best ever.
Yeah,
It's
go and
like-
try something new like me today. On
Yeah.
the run club.
But you were good in the run club, man. We might need a couple consistent kilometers, but that's not, mate. That's not you now. You're on the field. You need the boots on.
Yeah.
But we'll get you here again, man.
Yeah.
Before we wrap things up, I do have a present for you. Stay on the mic. I'm just going to jump off for a second.
Hey, here we go.
This is terrible podcasting, but if you're listening and not watching the YouTube, I've got a couple little things from our partners. You don't have to read the card.
You want me to?
You don't have to. we've got a Whoop, which is one of the partners of the podcast. They're doing some incredible stuff.
That's unreal, man.
In the recovery space.
Is that what you got on now?
Yeah, mate. I'm a huge fan.
Man.
Imagine and you little pop that, and then you've got a little box of Lululemon. It's a magnet on the front. It's just some kit. We love Lulu.
Bro.
Lulu doing some awesome things. No, it's just honestly, man, just to thank you for coming on. Like I appreciate your time. I know you come to the Goldie to unwind and get away. So I'm very grateful that I stole you for a morning, had a little coffee and a swim and a run and a beautiful conversation, man.
I've loved it, man. I appreciate you having me on, and then I appreciate the sponsors and everything too. This is unreal.
Beautiful.
No, I appreciate that, bro.
Easy,
Thank
man.
you very much.
Thank you so much for the conversation and enjoy the rest of the time on the Goldie, bro.
Appreciate that, bro.
Cheers, bro.